Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is the English translation of the Majlis of Hazrat Maulana Qamar Uzzaman Saheb Damat Barakatuhum, which took place on Sunday, the 17th of Jumadul Ula, 1447, the 9th of November 2025. Our Hazrat Wala is speaking about tadbir, to make plans to do this, that and the other, that they can be categorized or put into two groups, tadbirun mahmudun wa tadbirun madmumun. Some type of tadbir and plan of action to put things together, etc., which is praiseworthy, and other type of tadbir, you putting things together, which is blameworthy. Not praiseworthy, blameworthy. So we start off with the one which is praiseworthy. That is that type of things you put together so that, and it is a means of you getting closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Example, you're doing this, that and the other so that you can free yourself from the responsibility of hukuk, all those duties and rights that are upon your shoulders that you're owing to the makhluk. That's why you're doing this, that and the other. Either because you need to do it for them, or the other way around is that you're unable to do it and then you ask them for forgiveness. And then after that also, to make that complete and perfect, is to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. Now all of this here, the fikr of it is in its place so that you can destroy desires from your heart, and so that you can be saved from shaitan, which wishes to lead you astray. Now all of this here which we have spoken about, tadbir, and to do this for dunya, that and the other, all of this is praiseworthy, there is no doubt in it. And also because Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has mentioned, fikratu sa'atin khayrum min ibadati sittina sanatan. That Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala mentions that pondering fikr, concern for a moment, is better than the ibadat of 60 years. Now our Hazrat Wala is speaking about an incident that a Misri Alim has written, that a person is continuing until the time of death comes, and what's the last words and what's his fikr at that time? He's still saying, how much is it for a meter of material from this roll, and how much is it for a meter from that roll? We were on Safar on one occasion, our Hazrat Wala is saying, and Hazrat Maulana Shah Mohammad Ahmad Saheb, he got the news of the demise of one of his disciples, but it was actually very, very praiseworthy in the halat that he left the world and the dunya with so much of fikr and in such a beautiful manner. After listening to that, his impression was that my heart's desire is that all my people also be blessed with maut and death in such a manner that his fikr was there for the akhirat. Our Hazrat Wala is speaking about the mother of Maulana Mahbub, saying that when it was her last moments and he could understand that, he said to her, listen, do you want to say anything? And what did she have to say? That listen, be considerate and look after my children, number one. And number two, that in this halat, this last 1-2 days, whatever it was, I was unable to read my salat. Kindly see to that. When Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb heard about this, what was his impression? He said, my heart's desire is that all my house people be blessed with a death like this. What a type of death? The death with fikr of akhirat. Now Allah Ta'ala bless us with the fikr and the concern of the akhirat, that we are passing away and we are in the state of dua. Such a way that our minds and our hearts are glued to the akhirat. It's only Allah and only Allah. Aane wali kisse tali jayegi, jaan tehri jaane wali jayegi. This which is approaching, how will we divert it throw it aside or avoid it in any way, the heart stops beating and the soul returns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our Hazrat Wala is speaking about success. कामयाबी तो काम से होगी, न कि हुस्न कलाम से होगी, जिक्र के इल्तिज़ाम से होगी, फिक्र के ihtimam से होगी. Listen, success will come when you do something. You will have to do something. Not just with flowery talks. It will come about, the success, when a person is consistent with his zikr and he has fikr for Islah and fikr for the Akhirat. Our Hazrat Wala is saying on one occasion, I entered the private chamber of Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb. He was pacing up and down. And what was it all about? And what were the ash'ar that were on his lips? He was saying, addressing himself, Chupir shudi hafiz, az mehkada beirun shu, rindi wa hawasnaki dar ahd shabab aula. This is actually the share of Hafiz Shirazi. He was addressing himself by saying, Chupir shudi hafiz, Wasiullah, you have grown old. It's about time you come out from these evil environments and these evil places. Rindi wa hawasnaki, this following of desires and vile acts, etc. Okay, if it is in your youth, okay, understood, you're still young. But you have grown old. You have grown old. On one occasion, our Hazrat Wala is quoting another incident where this dessert, firni, etc. was brought in front of him. He hardly took one spoon and then he passed it over to his granddaughter, the youngest daughter of Bhai Sahib Kari Mubin Sahib, and he said to her that you eat this. If I eat it, I will only commit sin. Now, who are we speaking about? We're speaking about this celebrated wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who was accepted across the board by one and all. This was his hal. Allah ta'ala bless us all with fikre akhirat. Okay, so let's continue. So here, tadbir and planning and putting things together, making mehnat for this, that and the other, for the dunya, can be put into two groups, where you are making tadbir of dunya for dunya, or you are making tadbir of dunya for the akhirat. So now, when you are planning for the dunya for dunya, that is actually, how can we explain that? Clearly, it is when you're putting things together so that you can boast that you have this and that and the other. You're putting things together so that you can hoard it. And every time your dunya increases, your ghaflat and your deception also increases. Okay, and the signs of this year is that it occupies you from having tawfiq to do anything. And it leads you to fighting, arguing in opposition. And the tadbir, putting this together, that together of the dunya, when it is for the akhirat, how will we explain that? It is like a person who wants to be very profitable. He wants to do this, that and the other. And what is his intention? So that he can eat from halal. So he's doing all of this dunya. He's planting things. He's doing tijarat. He's earning this. His intention is so that I can eat halal. And his intention is so that he can spend upon the poor whatever remains. And his intention is so that he can save his face from disgrace of asking people. Now, another sign of seeking the dunya for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the intention there would be not to get more and more. His intention there will not to be hoard, to hoard. Rather, his intention there would be so that he can give preference to others over himself. Now, zuhd and abstinence in the dunya has two signs. One sign is when a person loses it, and there will be certain signs and certain things that are happening there, and when a person finds it. So, abstinence in the dunya, when a person finds that wealth, he gets it, Allah gives it to him, then he will give preference to others. And another sign, the sign when he loses it, he lost the dunya, it's gone, it's away from him, he didn't get it. Then, what is the sign there? Is that he has absolute peace in that particular halat. So when giving preference, that will be showing gratitude for the ni'mat of gaining wealth. And when he loses it, then his peace of heart and mind will be a token of appreciation of losing that particular ni'mat. Now, all of this here will be the fruits of good understanding from the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and true ma'rifat. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like how He blesses a person with something, many times He takes it away from that person. Rather, when He takes it, this ni'mat of Allah ta'ala taking something away from a person sometimes proves to be a greater ni'mat, a more complete ni'mat, a more perfect ni'mat. Just like how Sayyidina Sufyan al-Thawri radiyallahu ta'ala an rahimahullahu ta'ala mentions, لَنِعْمَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَيَّ فِي مَا زَوَى عَنِّي مِنَ الدُّنْيَا أَتَمُّ مِنْ نِعْمَتِهِ عَلَيَّ فِي مَا أَعْطَانِ مِنْهَا. The ni'mat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon me, regarding those things which Allah Ta'ala has taken far away from me. Actually, that ni'mat of Allah upon me is more complete, more perfect and more wonderful than the ni'mat of Allah upon me that He has given me. Allahu Akbar. That's so profound. The ni'mat of Allah upon me that He has deprived me or kept this, that and the other of the dunya away from me, it is more perfect a ni'mat upon me than the ni'mat that Allah has granted me. Shaykh Abul Hasan Shadili rahimahullah mentions, رَأَيْتُ الصِّدِّيقِ radiyallahu ta'ala an في المنام, I seen Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala in a dream. فقال لي, he mentioned to me, أتدري ما علامة خروج حب الدنيا من القلب? Do you actually know or understand what is the sign of the love of the dunya coming out of the heart? قلت, I said, لا أدري, I don't know. He said, علامة خروج حب الدنيا من القلب بذلها عند الوجد. The sign of the love of the dunya exiting from the heart is spending it at the time when you've got it, and perceiving peace of mind at the time when you lose it. You're happy with Allah, you're happy with the situation. So from all of this, we learn that لَيْسَ كُلُّ طَالِبٍ لِلدُّنْيَا مَذْمُومًا. Not every seeker of the dunya is blameworthy or disgraceful. Rather, بَلِ الْمَذْمُومْ مَنْ طَلَبَهَا لِنَفْسِهِ. The blameworthy person who is seeking the dunya is actually that person who seeks it for himself, not for Allah. He seeks it for his dunya, not for his akhirat. Therefore, understand it like this. People can be put into two categories. Abdun talabat dunya lid dunya wa abdun talabat dunya lil akhirah. The servant of Allah who seeks the dunya for the dunya, and the servant that seeks the dunya actually for the akhirat. وَسَمِعْتُ شَيْخَنَا أَبَا الْعَبَّاسِ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى عَنْ. I heard our Shaykh Abu al-Abbas رضي الله تعالى عن saying, Al-Arifu la dunya lahu. The true Arif is the one who doesn't have any dunya. Why? Because his dunya is for his akhirat. لأن دنياه لآخرته وآخرته لربه. Because his dunya is actually for the akhirat and his akhirat is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, here we're learning also that there was one person who just started, just a novice in suluk and tasawwuf. He said to a Kamil Sufi who was wealthy and rich, what did he say to him? Namardast aake dunya dost darad. He can't be a true man, a man of Allah, if he has dunya. The one who was Kamil, complete, reached the level of perfection, answered to him, Agar darad, baraye dost darad. If he has dunya, he actually has it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or what we would say, for the fellow person who he wants to spend it upon. Now, so the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum and the Salaf Salihin, whenever they entered into asbab and seeking the dunya, then what was maqsood and what was the goal and the objective? It was qurb, seeking the proximity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And seeking His pleasure. It was not for the dunya or the pomp and the glory of the dunya or the pleasures of the dunya. And this is how Allah Ta'ala explained the Sahaba or described the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum to be. In these words, Muhammadur Rasulullah والذين معه أشداء على الكفار رحماء بينهم تراهم ركعا سجدا يبتغون فضلا من الله ورضوانا سيماهم في وجوههم من أثر السجود. So, our Hazrat Wala is saying that Allah Ta'ala bless us what fikr for the akhirat. Sometimes we even find a person making a wasiyat and a bequest, which is absolutely and totally unbecoming. It is wrong. So niyat is the greatest amal, and it is the easiest. A person is making wudu. One is he's gaining purity, it's obvious. But the other one is that together with that, he gains the proximity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with wudu, just merely with wudu, a person does gain proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala bless us with the wealth of good understanding. Because with that, from where to where a person can reach. So, a person is in the dunya, and while he's staying here, he can actually be the man of the akhirat. Now these majalis is actually for this year, so that you can understand such type of concepts. Now Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Saheb was very, very meticulous about this year. When he would come from his walk after reciting the Quran Majid, and he would come in, he would hardly have something, whereas he was exhausted and hungry also. But what was it? Come quickly, quickly, quickly. The people are sitting there waiting for me. And every day I give the majlis, I understand it to be my last majlis. Allah Ta'ala keep us in the works of deen. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم بحرمة سيد النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم.